Okay, let's dive into this. We're looking at a really complex and frankly disturbing case today.
hmm
Heinrich Pommerenke, born 1937, died 2008, and known quite chillingly as the Beast of the Black Forest.
Right. And when he died, he was actually Germany's longest-serving prisoner. Quite a record.
It really is. So, the goal for us here, and for you listening, is to really unpack the source material we have, reports, biographical details, references,
Yeah, we want to extract the key facts, the essential information about his life, the crimes.
and what ultimately happens,
Yeah.
strictly based on these sources, no outside speculation, just trying to give you a clear picture from the material provided.
Exactly. So where did the sources start?
hmm
His birth, July 6th, 1937 in Benwisch, which was, of course, Nazi Germany then.
And his early life, the sources paint a difficult picture, don't they?
They do. Father died in the war. Then his mother left him and his sister in 1949
Wow, so he was raised by grandparents.
in Mecklenburg. And the trouble seems to have started quite early, according to the material.
How early are we talking?
Well, the sources mention his first rape happened while he was still a student.
Still a student. That's young.
It is. And it didn't stop there. After finishing a painting apprenticeship, there's another rape.
And that's when he fled East Germany.
Yes, in 1953. Headed for West Berlin.
Okay, so a pattern of serious offending is already there, even before he's really an adult. What happened in the West? Did the sources cover that?
Yeah, the authorities in West Berlin got involved. They contacted his mother, who was living in Switzerland by then.
Ah, okay.
So the sources say he was sent to live with her in Zurich. His sister was apparently already there, too.
Did he settle down at all?
He found work at a fair in Schaffhausen, but it seems stability wasn't really on the cards.
Another incident.
According to the sources, yes. Accused of rape again, and this time he was expelled from Switzerland. Got a 10-year re-entry ban.
So Switzerland was out.
Right. And the sources also mention other things happening around this time, robberies, what they term moral crimes, in southern Germany and also in Bregenz, Austria.
So this trajectory, it just keeps escalating. Which brings us, unfortunately, to the period that really defined him, the Black Forest crimes in '59.
Yes, this is when things really intensified, according to the sources. A series of attacks that caused, well, widespread terror in the region.
And he was living in Hornburg then.
Correct. The sources place him there. And what's interesting, or perhaps chilling, is that initially the sources point out there wasn't a clear pattern.
No obvious modus operandi.
Exactly. Which made it incredibly hard for police to connect the dots at first.
Until later, of course. But the sources mention something really specific, almost bizarre, about a potential trigger.
They do. It comes from Pommerenke's own confessions later on. He claimed it was seeing a film.
A film? Which one?
Cecil B. DeMille's The Ten Commandments. He apparently saw it in Karlsruhe, February 1959.
How did that supposedly trigger him? According to the confession, that is.
Well, the sources recount his claim that the scene with the golden calf, with the scantily clad women dancing, he apparently decided from that women were the root of all evil. And it was his sort of mission to punish them.
That's quite a leap and a terrifying motivation, if true, based on what the sources say he claimed. So let's walk through the timeline of those 59 crimes as the sources lay it out. What's first?
Okay, chronologically, the sources start February 26, 1959. Durlach, a 49-year-old woman, Hilde Kanter.
And the details.
The material states she was raped and her throat was slit.
Horrific. What's next in the sources?
In March, though the body wasn't found until the 25th, there was Corinne Walda, 18 years old, near Hornburg.
Found near the railway, wasn't she?
Yes, the source says abused, killed with a stone, body thrown near the embankment, found by the Gutak River.
Okay, then moving into May.
May 30th, Singen, an attempted murder. An 18-year-old store clerk attacked in her home.
Attempted strangulation.
Yes, but crucially, the sources say she fought back, screamed for help, he fled.
Did she get a look at him?
She did, provided an exact description the next day. But as the sources note, it wasn't immediately linked to the murders. Not yet.
Okay, and the very next day, May 31st. This is the train incident, right?
Yes, this one is particularly audacious, as described in the sources. He boards a tourist train, the D969, late at night in Heidelberg.
Heading south.
Towards Italy, yeah. On the train, he murders 21-year-old Dagmar Klamek, scabbed her in the chest with a knife.
And then the sources describe something truly shocking.
He threw her body from the moving train near Freiburg. Then about 3 kilometers later, near Schallstatt, he pulled the emergency brake.
Stopped the train.
Stopped the train, got out, went back to the body, dragged it somewhere nearby, and the sources say he committed sexual acts on the corpse.
Just dreadful. How was this discovered? Did they find her right away?
No. The sources say she was only reported missing when the train got to Switzerland. Her body was found later, June 5th, on the embankment.
And the investigation.
Hampered. Forensics showed the stab wound was fatal, the fall wasn't. But the train car, it had been cleaned multiple times before they realized a crime happened on board, so evidence was lost.
Yeah, so while the police are dealing with it, or rather before they even know about it, he strikes again.
Correct. June 2nd, according to the sources, this is before the Klimek murder is public knowledge, he attacks a waitress, 25 years old, near the Triberg station.
What happened to her?
Attacked with an iron-bound piece of wood. Stole her purse.
The pace is relentless. What's next in June?
June 6th, Karlsruhe. 2 women attacked while cycling. Stabbed in the neck.
Yeah.
Severely injured.
2 days later, June 8th, also Karlsruhe.
Yes. Breaks into a 15-year-old girl's room through a window. Stabs her in the neck. Very serious injuries.
But she survived.
Yes. Her father heard, came in, and chased Pommerenke away. And this, the sources highlight, is critical.
Why?
Because police found a sole imprint, a footprint, at the scene.
Ah, physical clue. That's huge.
Very huge. And then the very next day, June 9th, another murder.
Who was it this time?
16-year-old Rita Walterspacher, near Baden-Baden. The sources say raped, strangled, body left in the woods, found the next day.
And again, initially, no leads connecting at all.
Not immediately, no.
Oh.
The sources paint this picture of intense fear, multiple attacks, different methods, locations, and the police struggling to link them definitively.
So this terrifying spree across the region, how did it finally come to an end? What do the sources say led to his capture?
Well, he didn't stop immediately after the Walterspacher murder. The sources mention more crimes. June 10th, he stole a rifle and a pistol in a break-in.
Okay.
Then June 18th, used that pistol, or a pistol, to rob the Durlac station ticket office. Got away with 540 marks. Unrecognized.
But he made mistakes around then, didn't he? The sources point to a couple of key errors.
Made mistakes, yes. On that same day, June 18th, he went to a tailor in Hornburg to pick up a suit he'd ordered under his own name.
No, really?
Yes, and crucially, the sources state he left his old, worn-out clothes near the scene of that June 8th attack.
Where they found the footprint.
Exactly, where they found the footprint. That sole imprint, combined with the description from the victim in that June 8th attack, was the first solid link police had, according to the sources.
Connecting the burglary attempt to the wider pattern.
Precisely. Then the final pieces fell into place on June 19th.
What happened?
A man in Hornburg, named Schneider in the sources, reported finding a small caliber rifle, likely the one stolen on the 10th, and he gave details about the person he suspected.
Pommerenke.
And on that same day, he was spotted in Hornburg, arrested right there on the station forecourt.
So it was a combination of police work, that footprint, the description, the report about the rifle, and his own carelessness.
Absolutely. The sources really show how those elements came together to finally stop him.
Incredible how these things sometimes unravel. So he's caught. What about the confession? The sources mention quite a number of admitted crimes.
Yes, during interrogations, the sources state he confessed to a total of 65 offenses.
65? Wow. How does that break down?
The material gives specific numbers. 4 murders, 7 attempted murders, 2 rapes completed, 25 attempted rapes, 6 robberies, 10 burglaries, and 6 thefts.
A staggering list. And the trial. When did that happen?
It began October 3rd, 1960, Freiburg District Court.
Did they prosecute all 65 confessed offenses?
No, actually. The sources note that 38 of them weren't prosecuted.
Why not?
Because he committed them before he turned 21. So they fell under sort of juvenile law considerations at the time.
I see. And the outcome of the trial was his guilt assessed.
Yes, the sources mentioned 2 appraisers, Hans Ruffen and Christoph Steinmann, who declared him guilty.
And the sentence, it was historic, wasn't it?
It really was. Handed down October 22nd, 1960. 6 counts of life imprisonment, plus another 15 years on top of that.
6 life sentences.
Derived from combining single sentences that actually total 165 years. The sources specifically point out this was the most severe sentence given by any West German court in the post-war era up to that point.
A truly landmark sentence. So what do the sources tell us about his decades in prison after that?
Well, he spent most of that time, from 1960 onwards, in Brussels prison. That's what the sources indicate.
And release? Was that ever considered?
The sources state that suspension of his sentence, parole, was denied repeatedly.
Why?
Because he was consistently deemed a high security risk, too dangerous to release.
So he remained locked up. Were there any moves later in his sentence?
Yes, towards the very end, late 2006, the sources say he was moved to Johannesburg. That's where the main Brigham hospital is.
For treatment.
The idea, according to the material, was for him to undergo social therapy there.
Did that happen?
Apparently not for long. The sources say the therapy was canceled after about a year. He was then moved again to Heilbronn prison.
But he died back at Johannesburg.
Yes, December 27th, 2008. He was 71. Cause of death listed in the sources is leukemia.
And at that point, he held that record.
Germany's longest-serving prisoner, yes. A title now held by someone else, Hausdorff Neumann, but Pommerenke held it for quite some time.
What happened to his remains, do the sources mention?
They do. Cremated. Ashes scattered at sea.
And the case itself, it still resonates, doesn't it? The sources mention ongoing interest.
Definitely. Documentaries, books, articles. The sources show it's still studied and discussed. A testament to its impact, I suppose.
So we've walked you through the information from the sources from that difficult start, the early crimes, the escalation into the horrifying Black Forest spree in '59.
The methods, the victims, the fear it caused.
Through to the capture, the huge confession detailed in the material, that unprecedented sentence.
And finally, his death in prison after nearly half a century.
Right. And this whole deep dive, it was really designed for you to help you process the key facts as presented in the documents we were given.
Exactly. Just laying out what the sources say. No gloss, no outside takes.
And just to leave you with a final thought, something to chew on, really, stemming from the material.
Okay.
The sources clearly state he remained in prison for so long because he was deemed a high security risk. Sentence suspension denied again and again. Makes sense from a public safety view, perhaps.
Right. Seems logical based on the crimes.
But one of the references cited in the source material is actually a book that discusses the constitutional principle of hope in the penal system.
Ah, interesting. So the principle that even those with life sentences should retain some element of hope for eventual release under the right circumstances.
Exactly. So you have this contrast, right? The practical reality of keeping someone deemed dangerous locked up indefinitely versus this underlying legal or constitutional principle of hope, both touched upon, implicitly or explicitly, in the sources related to his case.
So the question for you, the listener, might be, what does that tension tell you about how we balance, long-term safety concerns with these fundamental ideas about justice, punishment, and maybe even eventual rehabilitation or the possibility of change within the prison system?
It's a complex balance, isn't it? Something definitely worth thinking about based on the case we've just explored through these sources.
Subscribe for more.